What's going on, everybody? Tom Coffey here, founder of obstaclecourseworkouts.com. Today I want to chat with you about training for a 5K obstacle course race, but first, check out this view. Isn't that awesome? This is the beautiful Pacific Northwest. It's a Puget Sound out there, right? Mountains in the background. Really beautiful. It's up by Seattle. If you're looking for a destination place to come visit, check out Seattle, all the trails it has to offer, and the beautiful scenery. Gorgeous. Anyway, that's not what we're here for today. I want to talk to you about training for a 5K obstacle course race, we zoom out, like the physical attributes you should be thinking of, and then if we zoom in, sort of actually how to put that together into a plan. The reason I wanted to film this video is I talk to people a lot about training for their first obstacle course race, training for something like a Spartan Sprint, training for the longer races. And I just wanted to kind of put this into a video to add context and be really useful if you're thinking about doing a shorter race in the 5K range. So we're thinking Spartan Sprint, Tough Mudder 5K, Warrior Dash 5K, Savage Race 5K, right? So about 3 miles, 3.1 mile is a 5K. If we can zoom out and think about what are the physical attributes you know you're gonna encounter, right? You might not know what obstacles per se you're gonna find at each race, which is what makes them unique. All the obstacles, you might face different obstacles at different races, which is cool. But if we zoom out, you know that you're gonna need to run or at least travel between obstacles, right? If you're running a 5K obstacle course race, at the minimum, you're probably going 3.1 miles plus all the other obstacles you're gonna have to do in between that. So you know you're gonna need to be running or at least have some sort of aerobic base, have some sort of endurance base, right? That's a given. You know that a lot of the obstacles are heavily emphasized on upper body strength. So we're thinking rope climbs, climbing over a wall, inverted walls, any obstacle on the rig, any bucket carry, any sort of carry at all, stone carry, even crawling, right? Which you'll face at a majority of these venues, whether it's a Tough Mudder or a Spartan. So we know you need upper body strength, namely upper body pulling strength, which simply means either you're pulling something closer to you, like the Hercules hoist where you're pulling the rope closer to you, or you're pulling your body closer to an obstacle, right? So upper body pulling strength is a premium. Also grip strength and grip endurance. So your ability to hold on to something heavy and be able to do that for an hour or two throughout the duration of an obstacle course race. So we have endurance, we have upper body strength, namely upper body pulling and grip strength. Then we have core strength for sure, which basically, if you have a strong core, you'll be able to successfully navigate the obstacles and hopefully stay injury free. So keeping your core strong and healthy is a great way to prevent injuries and basically fight. If you have a weaker core and you're trying to do some obstacles, your body might, assume these weird positions, which could put a lot of stress on your spine or your joints, unneeded stress. You can simply train your core, get stronger, and remove a lot of that potential for injury just by doing so. And we'll talk about ways to do that in just a second. And then another attribute is metabolic conditioning. So I know at Spartan races, the penalty for failing an obstacle is burpees. At other events, you might do burpees, you might repeat an obstacle. But for most of these events, if you fail an obstacle, you're going to be penalized with something that's kind of hard work. So metabolic conditioning is what I like to call giving yourself a high gear. So it's like we're thinking sprinting, doing burpees, like kettlebell swings, stuff like that, things that get your heart rate up, get you used to moving, but also build your threshold for working when your heart rate's jacked to the roof. And again, we'll dive into that more in just a second. So kind of just zoomed out globally, we're thinking we need endurance, we need upper body strength for sure, namely upper body pulling and grip strength, although upper body strength as a whole is definitely important. We need a high level of core strength, again, to help prevent injuries and help us go over and successfully navigate the obstacles. We're going to need a base of metabolic conditioning. So if we do a set of 30 burpees as a penalty, we're not smoked for the next hour and just sucking wind. So that's going to be important. And then also mental toughness, right? Grit factor, being able to just endure cold weather, cold water, muddy obstacles, maybe a lot of people there. Maybe you trip, maybe you hit your knee on a rock. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Also, just having the mental fortitude to persevere and continue pushing forward and making progress. I've even heard stories, I've never seen this personally at a race, but I've heard stories, big plane, big train going through. But I've heard stories about people at old Spartan races who had to do the bucket brigade. Some of their rocks fell out or sand, and they got told to do it again, which is, if you don't know, it's simply carrying a 5-gallon bucket full of rocks or sand. It's pretty heavy, but people straight up quit. Like, they couldn't fathom having to do that obstacle again. It's hard, but it's not worth quitting over. So mental toughness, super important, just to build that grit factor. And we can do that. The byproduct of hard workouts is that you'll develop mental fortitude. So that's a nice bonus there. We don't necessarily need to be focusing on it extra. It'll come with the training. So speaking of the training, let's dive into some of the exercises, a little bit more of the nitty gritty and tactical stuff here to help you train for a 5K obstacle course race. So we'll start with endurance. Endurance is a big one, right? You're gonna need to be moving. You're gonna be moving constantly throughout the race, which probably on average is gonna take an hour to 2 hours. Some people can do it faster. Fastest competitors are like in the 40 minutes or high 30s, which is crazy fast. But for most of us mere mortals, we're gonna take an hour or two to complete one of those 5K obstacle course races, depending on which venue we're at. So endurance is big. Ways we can train it are just move slowly for a period of time, right? I definitely suggest adding in running or jogging into your training, as it's very sport specific, right? So there's a law of specificity in fitness and training that basically says if you want to train for, if you're training for a particular event or a sport or whatever it is, you should do exercises that exactly mimic that sport or event. In this case, our event is an obstacle course race. For endurance, we're going to be running during the race, so jogging or running is a great place to start. People, this is sort of up for debate, but the suggestion that I've given people for a long time that seems to work really well for endurance is to be able to run at least half the distance of your race nonstop. So for a 5K, that's 3.1 miles. We're thinking 1.5 to 2 miles. If you can run that nonstop, I personally think you have the endurance to complete the race. Some people will say run the length of the race, but where you get tricky with that is, let's say you want to run something like the Spartan Ultra Beast. It's 30 miles. Are you really going to go out and run a 30-mile preparation run before your race? No. Like, if you can run 10 or 15 miles, you're going to have the base of endurance to run a Spartan Ultra, right? Same thing here, just on a smaller scale. So being able to run half the distance of your race nonstop is a great place to start. Other types of endurance that you can do are no impact or low impact. So just getting your heart rate up, keeping it elevated for a long period of time, like 20, 30, 40 minutes, without wrecking your joints, right? So elliptical is great, a rowing ergometer is great, an airdyne bike is great, stair climber is great. If you can go swimming, that's great. Like mountain biking, all that stuff is awesome. Even putting on a weight vest and going for a walk, very slowly and casually, is going to be a great way to build endurance. And again, just getting that heart rate up. So that's my recommendation for endurance. Be able to run at least half the distance of your race nonstop, and then maybe add in days per week in terms of being able to do that. I like to recommend 2 kind of endurance specific days for an obstacle course race, because this assumes that you'll be doing a bit more hybrid training. You'll be doing some strength stuff, you'll be doing some bodyweight stuff, right? You're not just doing endurance work. So 2 days per week of longer endurance should be adequate, especially if you're doing some of the other training, which we'll talk about right now. Upper body strength, upper body pulling strength, and grip strength, right? We touched on, it's super important to be able to successfully navigate the obstacles. Some of my favorite upper body pulling exercises, upper body pulling strength, are body weight rows. You could use something like a TRX, right? But you're pulling yourself up toward those straps. You could use gymnastics rings, whatever it is, body weight rows. You might even hear them called Australian pull-ups. You can use a barbell for that, but you're pulling yourself toward that object. Those are great. Single arm dumbbell rows or kettlebell rows. So again, just training each arm separately are awesome ways. And then pull-ups, right? Pull-ups and the variations, chin-ups, commando pull-ups, all the variations there are going to be great. And you can even make it harder by adding weight or doing harder variations like L-sits. But those are sort of my 3 go-to ways for improving upper body pulling strength. And then if you want to make it harder, you can get kind of tricky with it. For the body weight rows, you could slow down the reps, take 10 seconds to do each repetition, keeping everything very tight and tense, right? For the single arm dumbbell rows, you could wrap a towel around the handle and do thick grip rows. That's going to have a really nice added benefit of grip training, and it makes even moderate dumbbells seem really heavy. And then again, for the pull-ups, you could add weight, you could do harder variations, and or you could even do like pause pull-ups where you hang from the bar 30 seconds, do a pull-up, hang from the bar 30 seconds, try to do 2, try to do as many as you can like that before you fall off the bar. So a lot of ways that you can improve that. And if you're doing upper body exercises like that, it will have a transfer over to grip strength. But 2 of my other favorite grip-centric exercises are loaded carries. So simply just picking up a weight and carrying it. I really like the single arm farmer's carry. So picking up 1 dumbbell or 1 kettlebell or 1 cinder block or whatever it is, 1 briefcase, and carrying it around is a really great way to train your grip. And you can go heavy for short time and go lighter weight for longer time. That'll get the grip strength and the grip endurance. And then also is adding in towels to the different exercises. So we said you could wrap a towel around the handles of a dumbbell to make them thicker. That's going to really fire up your grip. But also using a towel, hang it from a pull-up bar and hang from the ends of the towel. I just did that like I have a towel there pretending. But hang from a pull-up bar, right? Wrap a towel around it, hang from the ends of the towels is going to be a really hard way to, it's going to be really hard on your grip and a really great way to train that grip strength. For core strength, again, a lot of transfer from the carrying exercises. It'll translate to a stronger core. But the other one I really like is the plain old plank hold and the variation. So people think it's romantic to do like a 5-minute plank hold. There's some value in that, but I think for building core strength, staying at like a 20-second, 30-second, 40-second plank hold, maybe up to a minute tops, is going to be great. And if you can do like a 30-second regular plank hold, it's probably time to start making it harder and then work back up to 30 seconds at a harder variation, right? It's going to challenge your body. It's going to create more tension. It's going to get more muscles fired up. Nothing wrong with the 5-minute plank, but I think there's better ways to train that strength. So a few ways you can make the plank hold harder. Level 1 would be lift 1 leg. So you have basically, we're starting the plank, we're in the top of the push-up. That's the plank position I'm thinking of. If you lift 1 leg, that's going to be a little bit harder than the regular plank, right? Again, working up to something like 30 seconds per leg lifted, which would give you a minute total. Level 2, a little bit harder than level 1 would be, you have both feet on the ground, but you lift an arm this time. So again, like working up to 30 seconds with just your left arm supporting and then 30 seconds with your right is pretty hard. And then level 3, sort of the arrival point, if you can do this for 30 seconds per side, you're pretty much a beast, is lift 1 leg and then the alternating arm. So if your left leg was on the ground, your right leg or your right arm would be supporting and the opposite limbs would be off the ground, right? So it's 2 points of contact, very hard. But again, that gives you something to work up towards so you're not just hanging in the plank for like 5 minutes. But plank hold, another great exercise on top of the carries to really build core strength. And the other one for the carries that I like is the goblet carry. You're simply holding a weight against your chest and walking around with it. So that's a really great one. And then metabolic conditioning, stuff that gets your heart rate jacked through the roof and forces you to work while your heart rate's high, elevated. So here we're thinking kettlebell swings or dumbbell swings if you don't have a kettlebell, burpees, burpee variations, this sprinting up a hill if you can is awesome, but really any type of sprinting is great. You could use a parachute, you could do it on a rowing ergometer, you could do it on an airdyne bike, you could just do it on a turf field, sprint up a hill, whatever it is, sprinting's awesome. If you have access to a sled or a prowler, doing stuff like prowler pushes and sled pulls, sled drags, fantastic. If you don't, and you have a friend in a parking lot, you could always put a car in neutral and push that. Again, you're gonna want to do that with a partner though, so they can hit the brakes and kind of navigate the car, but again, super hard. There's a lot of exercises. You can start to put these in circuits where you're putting exercises back to back to back with little to no rest between. You could do just high intensity intervals, like 30 seconds of kettlebell swings, 30 seconds of rest, repeat that, for 6 to 10 rounds. But basically just getting used to working when your heart rate's jacked to the roof will pay big dividends for you when it comes time for a race day. So this video is a little bit longer than I intended. I've actually written an entire blog article about this. It comes complete with a 30-day Spartan race or Tough Mudder or basically obstacle course race preparation plan, all free. If you want to read more about this stuff, we'll go into more detail about it. I linked below, so click the link below in the description. It'll take you to the blog article. And again, if you're interested in having a complete program already designed for you, basically just the really tactical stuff, everything we talked about today, then you can download that PDF from the blog article, and there's instructions in the blog article on how to do that. Again, it's all free and it's all in the blog. Hope you enjoyed this video. Looking forward to chatting with you guys soon. Take care.